Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Love you, bro.
Love you too, buddy. What's up, everybody? It's Topher and Jeff here, just the two of us this week. Going to be a little bit of a different episode. We got some tough news over the weekend. The man of our family, Grandpa Scott, Bob Sr., unfortunately passed away. And so, yeah, it's a tough time to say the least. I'll bring Vex in here in just a sec, but yeah, like this was a guy who we all kind of modeled our life after. He was a guy that we all wanted to be like. He was a guy that had the utmost of integrity and honor and do what you say you're going to do type of mentality, but also, you know, he was the first person to tear up when he had a grandkid in his arms, and the first guy to crack a stupid joke at all probably inopportune times just to make everybody laugh. Just a guy that lived life the right way. I think at the end of the day, he lived life the right way. He lived life to the fullest. And, you know, while we are going to miss him dearly and greatly, there's a lot of happy memories to give us a little bit of comfort during this time. And so Vex and I here today to honor our grandfather, just wanted to honestly, like, just talk about him, because at the end of the day, like I said, this is a guy who we all wanted to be like. He was our dude. And so I'm excited to talk about him here today. I don't know if I'm going to get through this whole thing without breaking down. Vex, you're probably not going to get through this whole thing without breaking down. But yeah, he was the best. So Vex, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, not going to be easy. There's no doubt about that. And you know, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this episode today too is, you know, Grandpa passed Sunday morning. And Monday I had a college team that I work with that I had to go in and work with, and my pro guys. And after the workout with the college group, I brought them in, and I said, you know, I remember what it was like to be your guys' age and being away from home. And sometimes you don't talk to family as much. And I just told them that, you know, I was very, very close to my grandpa. And unfortunately, he passed away yesterday morning. And I said, and you know, I've been in your shoes. I've been away from home. There's times where I went too long without calling my family, you know, whether it was my sister, my parents, grandma or grandpa, anything like that. And, you know, I woke up Sunday morning and I had this feeling that I had to FaceTime grandma and grandpa. And there's been times, you know, you guys all know, Toph and I joke about it a lot, but I'm a pretty busy human being. I just go from one thing to the next all day until I fall asleep, because that's just what I learned from grandpa and my dad, how to grind. And sometimes I'll get the thought, oh, I haven't talked to grandma and grandpa in too long. I'm going to give them a call. And I won't lie, more often than not, it'll get put off a day or 2 days or 3 days, maybe every once in a while, even a week over the last, you know, 10 years. For some reason, on Sunday when I was coming home from the gym, I was like, I need to call grandma and grandpa. I need to call grandma and grandpa. I don't, it was like I have to today, no matter what. I got home and I said to Kylie, I need to call grandma and grandpa. And I FaceTimed them. And we got to talk for almost an hour. And I got to see grandpa. I got to see him one last time. So, damn it. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this podcast today was strictly to remind all you guys out there listening to call your family. You never know. You know, you never know. And obviously, if I didn't get that call in, you know, it's not like I'm a bad person or you're a bad person when things like that happen. But like, all I've thought about since I heard the news Sunday night was like, holy shit. I am so grateful that something pushed me and urged me to call them that day and not put it off another day. So that was a main message that I wanted to give to everybody here before we tell some stories about Grandpa that I think you guys can learn from, laugh from, and just have a good time with here today.
Yeah, you're so true, man. It's so true. And I learned that when Ray passed away, my best friend last year. And we hadn't talked in a bit. It's one of those you don't talk for a while and then you pick right back up, like you talked to him yesterday type stuff. But it was crazy, that day. I'm moving my other grandfather who has Alzheimer's into a different house because he's very much on the decline, and then it was crazy. Like my mom she kind of orchestrated all of us to be there at the same time as we're helping move and told us what had happened. And I'm very fortunate. Like we were sitting around the table here last night. Like I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 next year, like you, Jeff. So you don't give me the whole old balls thing, Mister 1 month younger than I am. I'm almost 40, and up until Sunday, I had all 4 of my grandparents living, which is incredible. And I've been really, really fortunate in my life that, my grandparents on both sides, but particularly we're talking about our grandpa, they were always present, man. They were always present. And it might have been a little different from you because you were in St. Louis and we were all in Chicago, but like, honestly, I don't remember like a hockey game when I was younger or a baseball game or my sister's gymnastics meets or a graduation or anything like that they weren't there. And that's another thing too that I think is really cool is that I said they, because I don't know about you. I don't know if I've ever hung out with like just grandpa alone or like just grandma alone. It's always the 2 of them. And we're going to talk a lot about the things that he taught us and the way that we want to live our lives here today. But I think the biggest thing that we take out of our grandfather was like literally how much he loved our grandma and the way that they created this family. We're very, very, very fortunate. Very, very fortunate.
We gotta lighten it up here too, man.
Oh, Jesus.
We love Grandpa, guys. Like Grandpa was the man. We're both getting emotional here. Like our family dynamic is electric, unbelievable. Like our, my cousin Vinny Barra, who used to work for Toph at the hockey think tank, he reached out to me. Obviously our whole family's talking, and he said, like Grandpa created the family dynamic that we have. Grandma and Grandpa are the reason that our family is so close. And obviously, Vinny's he's close to 30 now. I mean, he's 30. He's 30. Looks like he's 50. Hope you're listening. Hope you're listening, bro, because you can't dagger me back because it's my show. Suck it, Vinny. But he said, I've been around a lot of friends' families, and you have, and I have, and lots of teammates' families. And there's very few families that operate the way that we do, that are as close as we are. And that was instilled in us by our grandma and our grandpa. Mainly, he's a patriarch. It's a reason that we are the way we are. And it's such a valuable lesson. And it's how I want to run my household, as a new dad any second now, and so I'm excited to share some freaking stories about the guy.
Yeah, for sure. So what Vex and I are going to do today, we've each come up with 3 things, just kind of 3 life lessons, 3 stories, 3 little anecdotes about our grandfather. And if you've listened to our podcast long enough, you know how much we believe in life lessons that the sport teaches us. Well, this is going to be a life lesson that our grandfather taught us, because there was a lot. Like this guy, and you'll hear throughout this episode, how special of a guy he was. And if you want more, like we did, so Vex and I, what was it, 2 years ago, I think, 2 years ago, we had a family Christmas where everybody was under the same roof, which doesn't happen every year, some years, but we got everybody under one roof, and we kind of surprised our grandma and grandpa. We told them that we were doing a podcast on like family and hockey, when really in reality it was a podcast about them. And so we brought in all of our aunts, all of our uncles, all of our cousins, all the great grandkids, and everybody got to kind of share a little bit about our grandma and grandpa because they're that special to us. And when it came out, because grandma and grandpa listen to our podcast every Monday that it comes out, like awesome grandparents do. And they didn't know that we had actually rigged it to be about them. And so if you get moved by this, there's more where that came from, as Happy Gilmore says. And yeah, that was like 2 years ago, Christmas time, if you feel the need to look it up. But this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. On our podcast, we always talk about the power of reflection and the power of living life as the best version of ourselves. Well, therapy can help us to reconnect with who we are, what's important to us, and prioritize things that can help us live our best lives. We are huge believers of therapy on this podcast. It really allows us to rethink, reimagine, and reframe much of what is going on in our lives to help us grow into the people that we want to be. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, convenient, and designed to fit your schedule. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. Bet on the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code THPN. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That's code THPN only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023, all rights reserved. Quickly before we do go through our life lessons, just have our sponsors to thank. Wanted to get this in quick because they really support what we do, and I'm sure they would really support the messages that are going to come next. And so won't go too much into it, but really want to thank icehockeysystems.com. These guys are awesome. And actually, Vex, I just got an email from them, a mass email, just the other day. They have not raised their prices in 10 years. They have not raised their prices in 10 years. That just goes to show you the integrity and goes to show you how much of a positive impact they are trying to make on the game and are making on the game. Just really, really cool. 10 years not raising their prices. That's how much they value the people in the game. So go to icehockeysystems.com. Unbelievable stuff there. Vex.
You know who would have liked that?
Grandpa. Yeah.
Sometimes,
especially with the price, he was
that's what I'm talking about. Well, alligator arms. We had to reach for his wallet. Just kidding. Obviously, Grandma was the one slipping me 20s after every game. Even when I was signed on an NHL deal, she'd come see me. Here's $20, Grandma. I made money tonight. I don't need you to. Okay, I'll take it. You take that, Jeffrey. Do not tell your grandfather. Okay, all right. I want to thank Train Heroic. They allow me to train everybody online. Thank you guys. And Cured Nutrition. You can go to curednutrition.com. Use my discount code GMBM.
There you go. Also want to thank Helios Hockey. Awesome product for the kids. Want to thank Crossbar. Unbelievable. If you're looking to form a website that can help you with all of your operations of your club, it's just a phenomenal website. And then just thank you to all of you as listeners for supporting our podcast. This summer we've been in right around the top 10, top 20 most downloaded hockey podcast episodes in the United States, even craft the top 20 in Canada here recently. And so with your support, every share, every like, every download, all that kind of stuff just goes a long, long way just for us to continue to spread the message. And honestly, I'm really, really excited to spread Grandpa's message here today. This guy was 1 in a million, and I'm really looking forward to just sharing the kind of dude that he was. So Vex, why don't you go first? One thing that you've learned from Grandpa, a story, something to.
I'll go with my favorite one. I mean, I have it tattooed on me. It's on my forearm. I have a tattoo for Grandma on my forearm and Grandpa, right next to each other, which they're always next to each other. It says leverage is everything. Grandpa used to say this to me all the time, because you guys know me now as a jacked animal specimen Adonis that I am, and especially even more so when I played. But when I was young, I was a skinny, weak, mentally weak, kind of a wiener. Being around Grandpa always toughed me up. No doubt about it. Grandpa would, for sure. I mean, I never asked him, but he probably thought I was a little bit of a poos when I was a kid, because he'd always be wrestling me and, scaring me and punching me and stuff and toughening me up and telling me stories. Although Grandpa, at the end of his life, I'd probably say from 65 on, he was 88 when he passed, I believe.
Yeah.
65 on, Grandpa started getting softer emotionally and allowing people to see his emotions. Before that, even though he was an emotional guy, he didn't overly show his emotions. He didn't always talk about love. He didn't, that type of stuff. He was a very tough guy. He used to walk around when he was younger with, when you used to go to the bank and you could get nickels or dimes in the roll. He kept that roll in his pocket because he grew up in downtown Chicago, and he was in a gang. They were called the Sunshine Boys. So how tough were they? This is probably like the 40s, probably the 40s or 50s. Yeah. And, he used to get in street fights and stuff like that. He was a scrapper. He was a military veteran, served our country proudly, and was not a guy to ever back down from anybody. Wouldn't start it, but he would always tell you, I'll finish it, always. And so he was a tough SOB, but he would always tell me, and it was, because I was tall and skinny. He's like, on the ice, leverage is everything, Jeff. You got to get lower. Leverage is everything. Leverage is everything. And I would always tell myself, because I stood up too much when I was younger skating, and I'd have to get lower, and I have to get lower. And on the ice, it helped me. I started to learn, I need to stop being lazy, get low when you go to hit guys, load, explode through them. But then I also, when I really got into training, I realized levers and leverage when you're lifting weights helps you lift more weight, stacking your joints, all these things. Leverage is everything. Massively important in that. And the reason that I was able to play 10 years pro and be the captain of a school for 2 years in the NCAA out of 3 was because of the gym. So not only did he make me better on the ice with that one piece of knowledge, not only did he make me better in the gym, which made me better on the ice, I also use it in everything I do now. Everything with business stuff. Where can I grow my leverage? And then how can I use that leverage for the next thing to set me up for the next day, the next meeting, the next this, the next that? Find a way where I have leverage and then use it. And literally, I look at this thing on my arm. I got it tattooed on me my last season, 2017, in Budapest. I got this. Same with Grandma's elephant. And literally, I look at it all the time. And that one saying has massively, profoundly impacted my life in so many different avenues.
Leverage is everything.
It's everything, baby.
Yeah, us Scott dudes, not you Lavecchio and Barra people, but the ones with the last name Scott, we really you need leverage with us because we're already low to the ground.
You got better leverage.
Exactly. I always thought being small was an advantage because of that.
Yeah.
because of that. Like, you got to get down to my level when we're in a corner and we're battling. And because of that, you're going to get off base and it's going to be awkward. And I'm going to be able to use my leverage, my low center of gravity, to have all that power and either get around you quick or right through you quick.
Yep.
So, yeah, I love that. All right, my turn. So I think the first thing that I have is to fight for what you believe in and to fight for what you want in your life. And if there's an obstacle in your way, find a way either around it to get what you want or through it to get what you want. And the story that comes up, so this is hilarious. Jeff just gave you a little bit of a background of our grandfather. He served our country in the Air Force. He was in a band, or not a band. He was in a gang called the Sunshine Boys.
They sound like a band.
Right. Like, he's a tough dude, guys. Like, this guy's tough as nails. And met my grandma for the first time when they were younger. They were, I don't know, 18, 19 years old, something like that. At a dance hall, whatever there was in the freaking 40s and 50s. And he was like, this is the girl. This is her. And grandma was actually just telling the story around the table the other day. The first time that they met, she was like, she thought he was a jerk. She thought he was a jerk. And also, he could not dance. So grandma was a dancer. And so he like tried to dance with her and didn't go well. And so my grandfather, being the guy that he is, and this is crazy because he's this tough dude in a quote unquote gang. He went and got dance lessons. He's like, this is my girl. I'm going to go get dance lessons. He did, got dance lessons. The next time he met up with my grandma in this group, he was like, hey, and he danced with her and impressed her. And 65 years of marriage later, here they are. Right. And so, we talk a lot about like not taking the first rejection and quitting. We talk a lot about, finding a way, like literally just finding a way. And he found a way to woo my grandmother. And he's done that ever since. He's always found a way to support his family. When my dad, they couldn't afford for my dad to play hockey when he was younger, he went and he reffed. He learned how to skate and went and reffed hockey games so he can help my dad pay for his hockey. Had he not done that, we're not sitting here doing a hockey podcast, And so he was always a guy that he was there when you needed him, always find a way through it, around it, whatever. And I think that was just kind of the type of guy he was, man. And I think that story with my grandma just epitomizes everything. Here's this tough Air Force military dude that here's this girl. I know that she's I want her to be I got to take dance. He goes and gets dance lessons. That's insane.
Savage. Yeah. Guy's been stabbed in the face by a glass bottle and he's out there taking dance lessons. Like absolute animal. And it also makes me think like, do whatever is necessary. That was always like that. That's like, right. Like that was him. Like that story epitomizes like, he'd always be like, you have to do whatever is necessary, and he always did whatever was necessary. I used to spend every single Christmas at grandma and grandpa's house my whole life, I think, that I can remember. We went there every single Christmas Eve or 2 days before Christmas, and we'd stay there through the whole Christmas holidays at grandma's house. And when I was young, grandpa worked every single Christmas Eve, probably because it was overtime and he needed to provide for his family. And he did whatever was necessary.
And then Christmas Day, beeper, right? So he had the beeper, worked for the Village of Buffalo Grove, and so it was his job, to plow the streets when it was snowing. And so when we hated snow on Christmas, like anytime there was snow on Christmas, usually people are like, oh, great. Like we were like, no, F that. Like that means grandpa's not going to be here. And what I didn't realize till later was that like, as he got a little bit older and we got a little bit older in the family, like he would take those calls because there were a lot of guys that worked in the department that he was in that had young families. And he knew how important it was for them to spend time with their families on Christmas. So like, as we kind of got older, he would always take those shifts when it did snow. Cause he's like, hey, this is much more important. They got to have those times with his kids. So I didn't know that until like we were talking about it here.
Surprises nobody. Nobody who knew him. Yeah. My next one is love your wife. love your wife, love your husband, but love your wife. Like, guy was always there for grandma, always there, no matter what, always there to defend her, always there to prop her up, always there to talk positively about her. Anywhere we were, any celebration, he's grabbing her. They're getting up and dancing, which is so funny that yours was, had to do with do whatever's necessary, but it was had to do with dancing. I mean, these two like would light up every single wedding they went to. They'd be at some point they're getting. I don't care if it was this summer when he was 88 years old at our cousin Cody's wedding. Where they maybe could only dance for a minute together before they both had to sit down, or if it was 10 years ago or however long ago you got married and they were able to dance longer, or even before that, every party they were at, they were going to get up and they were going to dance together, and they were nasty at it. They were so good at it. And it's just like, he's just always showing grandma how much he loved her, always putting her on a pedestal. And, it's just something that I will always remember and always try to do, obviously, in my life as well. And I think it's just a good lesson for everyone,
Yeah, man. Yeah. They're hilarious, aren't they?
The best.
Just hilarious. I mean, we could be at a dinner and all of a sudden, like, music comes on and, all right, Laura, let's go. And there
they go. They're off.
Just dancing, And I think that's cool. It's funny. I just saw something on social media the other day where they were talking, and maybe this was grandpa, from above or whatever, but they were talking about how families that have dance parties live longer.
Wow.
Like families that have dance parties like live longer. And it was really cool. I was like, oh man, that makes a lot of sense. Cause like guys, like when I say our grandfather wasn't the healthiest of people in the world, that's the understatement of the century. Like this guy smoked since, I think we were talking about it today. Like I think since he was like 12 years old, didn't eat the best, like whatever, but like he lived as long as he did, I think because of the connections and because of just I'm sure there was stress in his life. I'm sure there was a lot of stress in his life, but like the people stuff, the family stuff was always a comforting kind of thing. And I would imagine that that's a huge part of the reason why he lived as long as he did with the health that he had, was because of the love he had for grandma and his family. And yeah, I don't know what you would think about that, but
yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me, dude. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, they are the most in love people, I don't know, that I've ever seen. It's pretty cool. And not afraid to show it, right? Like not afraid to be themselves and show it. And yeah, grandpa in his later years definitely softened up more with that stuff. I'm sure he did that in private a lot.
Right.
But like, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's important. I mean, look how long they were married. Almost 70 years.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not an accident. You get what you get. We always talk about that on the ice. It's the same in relationships.
100%, man. Okay, so my second thing is like material stuff doesn't create happiness. Connection does. Now, can material wealth help a little bit? Probably, I would imagine so. But like, my grandfather worked for the Village of Buffalo Grove forever. My grandma was a secretary at a high school, and they've lived in the same house for over 50 years and never, did anything lavish, never went on any lavish vacations or bought anything crazy, or, we already joked grandpa was a pretty frugal guy to say the least, man, but God, did they create a great life. And a lot of times it's really interesting, man. So, whether it's fate or grandpa or whatever, you see things or hear things or whatever that kind of just remind you of him. And it was really interesting because I was listening to this podcast the other day and they were talking about the difference between like kind of like how we see happiness in the West versus how like kind of like Eastern countries see happiness. And a lot of times, like in particularly America, we see happiness as more of anything, more wealth, it's just more abundance, and that can create happiness. And in the East, the way that they kind of see happiness is chipping away at the stuff that doesn't matter, right? Like it's less, it's simplifying, it's getting to what really matters, and being happy from that. And obviously there's both, I don't want to say merit, but like you can be happy in any way. Like it's just the way that you do it. But it was just really interesting. And the way that they kind of talked about it too was in art. So in like Western country, America type art, the way that they see art is with a blank canvas. So there's a blank canvas and then you add to it. You add to it, you add to it. That's where we see the beauty in art and stuff like that. The way that they see art in the East is more, you get like this block of concrete, let's say, and you keep chipping away. So you chip, and the beauty is like revealed through chipping away at different things. You know what I mean? So like It was really just an interesting analogy, particularly with Grandpa passing away, because I feel like that he was so much of the Eastern side where it's like, hey, like you can get so much happiness from simplicity in life. Love your neighbor, love your wife, just create connection with people, which he was so unbelievable at. And yeah, man. So I was just thinking like they've lived this purely blissful, simple life where family was like the most important thing and people were the most important thing. And I just thought that was really cool.
100%. It just makes me think about how many ex-teammates of mine have reached out to me over the last, 2 days here and shared a story about Grandpa, or the biggest hug that he ever gave him, or, oh man, I loved when he would come to the college parties, or I loved seeing him at your wedding and he remembered us and gave us the biggest hug and we laughed. And just a lot of messages like that from guys that I played with over the years. And it's like, man, like how many people's teammates 10 years after playing with them, remember that guy's grandpa. Like it's not a normal thing. It's not like I don't think I know any of my teammates' grandpas, any of them. Maybe a couple, 2 or 3 ring a bell that were always around. But like I played hockey for 30 years, 29 years. I remember 3. I had so many guys reach out about Grandpa, which was just really, really cool. And it's a testament to how he lived and the way he made people feel and the energy that he brought into a room. And that leads me into my third one. It was just like,
hold on. Can I just reiterate that too before you move on? Because I did too. I had teammates, I had coaches, I had like high school friends, like, and I think that, that was, something that I was going to say, but like, I'll think of something else, but like, they were always present, man. They were always there. I think I said this earlier, like every gymnastics meet for my sister, every cheerleading competition, every hockey game for me or my brothers, every graduation, just like every event, they were there, and they're so genuine as people. And like people wanted to be around them, and Grandpa in particular, like he's just the dude. And I just wanted to reiterate that because like, I think you would say like, thank you to everybody that's reached out. And so many people, it's not like, obviously I have people reaching out who didn't know him as well, just like sending their thoughts and prayers and condolences. But like the amount of people who were like, knew him or had a story or in some way he made an effect or an impact on them. It's like our grandpa, like it's like you said, 3 and 30 years of grandpas that you could even remember, of teammates that you had. And yeah, man, he was special in that way for sure.
100%. That leads me to my third one is always have fun. Grandpa always had fun. And he also like, he just thought outside the box. I remember when I was coming to Chicago to play against you, and this was when I was a skinny little wiener, like I talked about in the beginning of this show. I remember him being like, yeah, you got to distract the guys off the face-off. Do whatever's necessary. Get them off their game. Yeah. Why don't you try singing? And I was like, Grandpa, singing? And he's like, yeah, right before the ref drops a puck, look in the guy's eyes and just start singing a song. And I was like, what?
Well, he did that in football. He was an offensive lineman or defensive lineman, one of the two. And he's like, what you should do? Yeah. What I used to do, I used to sing, remember it was row, row, row your boat.
Yeah.
Sing row your boat. And then the guy'd be like, what? And then you just hammer him.
Yeah. And he would tell me stuff like that all the time. He'd tell me to like, Jeff, just make up your own word and just start using it as much as you can. See if you can get it to grow around your school. He would tell me that all the time. Like, just like, he's like, what are kids saying right now? Like fat, PHAT, or like tight. He's like, just make up your own word. And what did he always would say the one word that I think that he thought I could get going. And I'd always be like, Grandpa, maybe this idea has some merit, but that word is not taken off. And I tried it a couple times.
What was it from Mean Girls? Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah, fetch. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Yeah, it's like fetch. And, but he always brightened up a room. He always made things fun. He always found a way to get people to smile, whether it was scaring the absolute crap out of you. He had when he wanted to yell, he had a booming yell. And when we were younger, he'd always scare us. And, just like, he just always found a way to make things fun. I never, ever had a time at Grandma and Grandpa's house when I didn't have fun. And he was just the best grandpa in that way, and it's something that for sure rubbed off on me because my dad is the same way. And so they just want people to enjoy themselves and whenever you're in their presence. And it's also something that I like to do. I like people to be around me and not want to be around me. I mean, that's not, you're a Debbie Downer. Like, that sucks. Nobody wants to be around you, So
what's up, Ned?
He lifted other people up. And it's just something that I'll always take with me and something I always want to do. And he's a great teammate, and that's something that good teammates do is lift everybody else up around them. So,
yeah, I think probably the most amount of belly laughs where it hurts has been here at Grandma and Grandpa's house or down at your place. We would do family parties down there. There was never a good time not to be had around Grandpa Scott, to say the least. Okay, I got one more here, and it kind of goes along, honestly, with what you just talked about, but it's just be yourself. Just be yourself. He was so unapologetically himself and could not give two shits about what anybody thought of him. And that is a gift. That is a gift. And he's going to say what he means. He's going to be completely honest with you. And he's also just going to be a freaking goof. An absolute goof. So there's going to be a lot of pictures, and Vex and I have both, put out pictures on social media and stuff. And Grandpa Scott was the t-shirt guy. He was it was so dumb, but so awesome all at the same time. Every t-shirt that he wore for the last, 10 years of his life, let's call it.
Every t-shirt
was some kind of joke or some kind of saying. I was looking at a picture just recently, it's if you're happy and you know it, take your meds. Yeah. It's one of the, all these just dumb grandpa. We call them grandpa jokes. Everybody else calls them dad jokes. We call them grandpa jokes.
Grandpa jokes.
Because he was always making just these ridiculously awful terrible jokes. That
so bad that they were good.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was funny. Grandma was telling a story yesterday around the French toast table, where he wore those shirts with so much pride. He would go into the Jewel, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's the big grocery store chain here in Chicago. And he was known at the Jewel by their house as the t-shirt guy. And he just wore that with so much, he was so happy that he was the t-shirt guy, and everywhere he went, he was just telling terrible jokes. And everywhere he went, he was just trying to be a shit disturber and get people to laugh and or get riled up, whatever it was. But the point to that is man, he was just himself, man. And I love that about him. And it was really cool.
I think on my wedding dance floor, he popped his tarp, and the shirt that he had on for my wedding on the dance floor last summer, it said, told my wife I wanted to get cremated, ... And then below that, it said, she made an appointment for Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's what he wore on the dance floor at my wedding. Bright red shirt, just an absolute beauty. And I'm sure that he bought that just for the wedding.
Oh yeah.
And he was so excited to pop that tarp because he knew the tarps were coming off at the wedding, and just life of the party.
Well, how about my sister Jessie's wedding? So this was hilarious, guys. So at my sister's wedding, it was July, beginning of July. I can't remember the exact date, but it was like 100-degree day. It had stormed all day, and at the wedding in late afternoon, it stopped raining, but it was so hot and it was so humid. And so they did kind of like the ceremony outside, and then the reception was inside. It's really nice, kind of like nature museum kind of thing. And about halfway through the wedding, the air conditioning completely blew. Like the air conditioning just malfunctioned. It stopped. And so when I say it got hot, hey Vex, when it got hot in Jesse's wedding, like that's the understatement of the century. Because yeah, I'm gonna go with that picture. And so we'll throw this up on social media, but literally everybody there were shirts off. Like you couldn't have a shirt on. It was too hot. And everybody was rolling up their pants. And the funny part is like the people that worked at that nature museum, they were freaking out because the AC blew. And they were like, we're going to get sued by these people. Like they're going to want a refund. They're going to want their money back. And like my family's like, no, man, this is awesome. Like we were just having the best time. And like, so my grandfather goes tarps off, like completely tarps off. And so my sister, they had as one of their kind of like cool things for their wedding, they had these little I guess you can call them chalkboards, these little tiny chalkboards at all the tables where you can like write a message and take a picture or whatever. And so my grandpa, shirts off, he writes this little message on chalk on this little chalkboard, says, "My wife is hot." And he's tarps off, and then somebody takes a picture of him and my grandma with that "My wife is hot" chalkboard. And like I think it got on like these major websites, like it kind of went viral. This was kind of before going viral was a thing. And we'll throw a picture up on social media on that, but it was hilarious, wasn't it?
I just told Steph we got to make that picture the picture for the episode. It's
Yeah.
that picture because it's unbelievable. But also just grandpa too. Like make a bad day good, no matter what. Find a way to make something bad. Find a way to make it good, and that was him. That's just how he lived, and thank God he lived that way because instilled that in all of us.
Totally, man. And if you listen to our podcast, you know how much Vex and I are big believers in caught not taught, right? Lessons are caught not taught. And I think about, the value of the stuff that he taught us by speaking to us, right? Like I learned more life lessons at their little breakfast dinner table, maybe more than anywhere else in my entire life. All the deep conversations, all the stories from when grandma and grandpa were younger, the lessons that they learned that they wanted to pass on to us. But just by watching him made us better people. I think all the men in our family would agree that he is someone that we aspire to be. One of the hardest moments that I've had over the last couple days, my dad is Bobby Scott Jr. His dad is Bob Scott Sr. And so they obviously have a relationship. And, my dad coming up to me and giving me this big hug and just tears welling in his eyes. And him saying, I really hope I lived up to who he was. I really hope I lived up to what he was. And I gave a big hug and I said, absolutely, absolutely.
Hell yeah, you did, UB.
And grandpa, he's larger than life, and he was just a great human, and those are big shoes to fill. Like when you talk about him living up to his standard, but like, yeah, he set an unbelievable example for all of us, particularly I think us as men, and how to treat people, how to treat your family, how to treat your wife. And even though he's gone, his goodness and his legacy is going to live on through everything that he taught us. And that's something that is extremely special.
You did get emotional sooner than Grandpa did, though. Just so you know, you got real emo about 12. Grandpa waited till he was 65, but seriously, you're killing it, UB. You know what I'll miss too? Whenever we'd be in Grandma and Grandpa's house, if they were in different rooms, when Grandpa was yelling for Grandma somewhere in the house, they didn't have a big house, so they would just yell across the house, "Lord!" And then Grandpa or Grandma, when she needed Grandpa, Bob, 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 Lord, Bob.
Everybody else could hear except for them.
Grandma, if you're listening to this, I love you. I miss so much about it, but you know, all the text messages I received, I said, you know, I'm so grateful that I got 39 years, 39 years with that man. I'd gladly sell my house and everything I own for 39 more, but that's not how life works. And other people have said, you know, for somebody, your baby coming in the world and is going to be such a good person, somebody who was equally as good, even better, had to go out and circle of life. And Grandpa will live in my daughter here. So I'm gonna think of it that way. If you guys are listening to this and you laughed, you cried, whatever, take a minute, call, text, FaceTime, make a list, 10 people, 5 people, 3 people, whatever it is, somebody you haven't talked to in a while. Could be a best friend, could be a family member, could be an ex-teammate, a coach. Shoot them a text, give them a call, send them an email, send a carrier pigeon, whatever it is. Just tell them you love them, tell them you miss them, tell them what they mean to you, because I'm so thankful that something pushed me to make that call Saturday morning, and I want that for all of you too. So make sure you tell the people you love them.
Absolutely. Well, I love you, brother. And yeah, this is a really crappy, really awful, really tough time for all of us. But we have so many great memories to fall back on. And yeah, Grandpa was, he was one of a kind, and a shining bright light of just being a good man. And so with that, rest in peace, Grandpa. I know you're looking down on us right now. I'm sure you're going to haunt us in some capacity, just with how he's going to give us crap from above, scare the crap out of us at some point, but he'll also be there to prop us up, you know, when things aren't going our way. So love you, Bob Scott Sr., rest in peace. And thank y'all.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.